Namaste, viewers. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you today an amazing personality who has been dancing all his life, who has been dancing Kathak all his life, in spite of being an American. How surprising is that? Please meet Mr. Rann Shinar, or Ranji as we dearly call him. Ranji and I have been a part of each other's lives for over 10 years now. And every day, every time when we met, he has just inspired me to great lengths. Every time we have met, I have learned something from him. And I've always felt that I want to grow old like him. I want to be a person like Ranji. Ranji's amazing life story will take you through how Kathak originated in India but reached farthest corners of the world, and how it connected with him wherever he went, wherever his life took him. Be ready to be inspired. Let's have an informal chat, a tete-a-tete with Mr. Rann Shinar. Namaste, Ranji.
Namaste.
How are you, Ranji?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for agreeing to have a chat with me today, Ranji.
My pleasure.
So, Ranji, first up, please walk us through your childhood. It's so amazing that you are a Caucasian looking person, but you speak Hindi, you dance Kathak. Please walk us through these amazing combinations. How was your childhood? How did you get introduced to Kathak to begin with?
My father was an irrigation engineer and worked in India. And I was there with my mom and my older sister, younger brother. So we lived in Delhi, and when I was quite young, maybe 8 or 9, my father had a very good friend who was the cultural attaché of the American embassy. And he used to have these baitaks at his house. And he used to host like Ali Akbar Khan, Ravi Shankar, Yehudi Menuhin, and also a lot of the dances. I mean, Birju Maharaj danced there, and so I saw Kathak, and it fascinated me. The footwork, the chakkars. So I said to my mother, I want to learn.
Wow.
I want to learn Kathak. So there was actually a teacher, Nirmala Sharma. She was originally from Bengal, but she married a doctor.
Okay.
They moved to Delhi, and she started teaching classes. So I joined her class, and I loved it. But the thing that I didn't quite realize about learning Kathak was that it opened India for me. I learned about who is Krishna, who is Rama, who is Shiva, the significance of Holi and Diwali and all these sort of things. So, whereas my brother and sister were sort of Western in their outlook, I became very Indian. And so whenever there were these holidays, I would be able to tell my family, well, this means this and that means that, and so on. And the interesting thing that at that time, Bharatanatyam was considered the classical dance. Kathak was not.
Oh. And what year was this? Around what time?
In the 60s.
In the 60s.
Yeah. And girls dancing
Hmm.
was frowned upon.
Hmm.
The consensus was girls from good families didn't dance in public in front of other people. So most of the dances were male. And then Birju Maharaj opened the Kathak Kendra. And then the Sangeet Natak Academy opened. And slowly things started to change. And women started dancing Kathak. And slowly it became acceptable because people saw it was classical, wasn't to waifs dancing. And so it was a whole different dynamic.
That's true. But Ranji, before we move on, I would just like to ask one question, which is that you were born into a British family,
Yes.
right? So tell us a little bit about your background, about your parents or even other members of the family or your roots basically. And then my another question connected to that one is that how were you named Rann? Because it's such an uncommon name in a British family, right? So there must be some history behind it.
Yes. My mother said my father was surveying in the Rann of Kutch.
Oh.
And when they went back to Delhi, she realized that she was pregnant with me.
Oh.
I don't think she quite realized the meaning of Rann, but that was what she named me.
How nice.
And I mean, my brother and sister had very English names. My sister was Hazel, my older sister. Younger brother was Charles. And in the middle is this
Rann.
This Hindu Rann. As I said, my father was an irrigation engineer, and one of the projects that he worked on was building the canals that irrigated the Punjab farmland, and which we believe is one of the reasons why the Punjab became
That's right.
the breadbasket of India.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so true.
So it was good. I feel my father did something that was of great value.
That's so true.
So with Nirmala Devi,
Yes, I was just about to ask that how old was she when you started learning with her?
she was well in her 70s.
Oh wow, so she was like a grandmotherly figure to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so through Nirmala ji's lens and through your lens, you must have seen a very big span of Kathak, maybe more than 100 years then. Right? Because she was 70 when she started teaching you.
As far as I understand with the parampara, with the Nirmala ji, her mother was a musician in the court in Jaipur.
Okay.
Her grandmother was a dancer.
Wow.
And she used to tell the most amazing stories about festivals in the court of Jaipur. And, and at that time, we're going back more than 100 years. And she told like all of these stories about the protocol, who was allowed to attend who sat in front, who sat in the back,
Okay.
and even things like the higher up ladies wore diamonds and things like that. And as the ranks went down, the jewelry went down.
Oh.
And also the ladies who were high up could wear certain colors, and as they went down, different colors. So when you walked or when you appeared anyone, people knew exactly who you were and what your status was. Nirmala had she had at the most 10 or 12 students. She didn't have more. But she did arrange performances from us. And one of the highlights was being invited to perform in Khajuraho for a festival there.
Wow.
That is where she bought the Nadaraja for me. It's supposed to have 9 metals. And
The Nataraj that you gave me the other day.
yes.
The same one.
Yeah.
That is so precious.
So I'm so glad you have it. And it was a lot of fun. She was very much like you in many ways, encouraging, nourishing, and she had a wonderful sense of humor. And she was particular because the Gharana was Jaipur. She was particularly devoted to Krishna. Eventually, I had to leave India and I went to England to study art. But I still joined a couple of classes. I was with Sunita Govala. She was a crazy teacher, but she was wonderful. And then...
Was this in England?
Yes, Sunita Govala. And, oh my God, I can't remember his name. He and his wife taught in England.
In England? Do you mean Pratap Pawar? Pratap?
No.
No.
Unfortunately, memories go.
Okay, no worries. Can you describe that gentleman, your guru?
Well, he danced with his wife.
Okay.
And...
Was he Birju Maharajji's student?
I think so.
Can you describe how he looked?
He was tall, little overweight, but wonderful dancer.
And he used to live in London.
Yeah, but I just started studying with him, and then he went back to India.
Okay, I am pretty sure you're talking about Pratap Pawar.
Probably.
Because his wife, Priya, and him, they used to perform duets all the time. He was Maharajji, if we are talking about the same person, he was Birju Maharajji's first Gandabandh Shagird.
Okay.
And a tall person, slightly overweight with curly hair,
That's
big
him.
eyes,
That's him.
and long hands.
Yes.
A good performer in
Yeah.
that sense. So yeah, and back then I think they didn't have too many male teachers in England, right?
But also at that time, one of the renowned Kathak dancers was Nahid Siddiqui.
Yes, 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 yeah.
So she
Yeah.
used to perform a lot in London. And then I graduated from university and started working. So I was working in museums, in different museums in Europe. And then finally, I got a job with the Israel Museum in Israel.
Wow.
And I used to perform. I performed on Israeli TV and different things like that. But then my career was taking off and I was just busy, so I occasionally performed, occasionally danced, occasionally tried to do riyaz. And then I was offered a job in Berkeley with the Magnus Museum. It's a museum of Jewish art.
Oh, okay.
And they had, like, for 1 year, they had enough work for me for 1 year. And I came here in 1980. Then I went back.
Okay.
And then I came back in 87.
Okay.
And I was working and so on. Then, as I've told you many times, I used to watch Kathak on YouTube. And then I saw your performance with your students in the Darbari tune. And although it wasn't all that complicated, it was the most beautiful thing I had seen in a long time. The dancers won. Music was so beautiful. And I thought to myself, now, this is the kind of Kathak I would enjoy dancing. And then one day I heard you were performing in
Jain Temple in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I got a ticket and I went to see you. And I was blown away by the high standard of the program. You did an item about Yasodhara.
Yes, yes.
And you had me in tears.
Oh, Ranji.
And I thought to myself, this is Shult Kathak. This is Kathak at its best.
Thank you, Ranji.
So after the performance, I went and spoke to you. And you were surprised that I knew,
Yes.
Kathak so well. And then you told me, I'm starting an adult class. And I asked to join. And I used to travel every week from San Francisco to San Jose to attend classes.
That was some different kind of dedication. We even back then, all your fellow students, your guru bahans and I used to talk about it, that a 70-year-old gentleman driving a couple of hours, because especially when you came down to the Bay Area, it was always rush hour. So you took a long time to come. So do you remember you used to start way early and then you used to reach early to beat the traffic and then do the class and then leave and drive all the way back home. So for that 1 hour class, how much effort you took, and that too every week, and that too for years together. I think you continued doing it for 6 years or 7 years, if I'm not wrong. It was just amazing, some dedication at the next level. But I'm just going to kind of bring this chat back on a lighter note. So I'm going to also, I know that I have said this to you several times. My first impression of you when I was dancing on stage and watching you sit in the first couple of rows and the way you were appreciating my performance, I was so curious, so intrigued by your reactions to my dance, because I had never seen such kind of profound dad, wah wah, from a Western looking, that to a gentleman, not a lady. So I was so curious to know more about you, to meet you. And then when you introduced yourself to me on stage after the performance, it was like a mystery resolved. And even then, I had this urge to connect to you and know more about your journey, because I have been an avid fan of history in general. I like to know about backstories, about what happened back then. And so when you started learning in my class, it was always a chance for me personally to peep into the history of Kathak through you.
Oh,
And I always found it very interesting. So if you remember, I always asked you questions about how you learnt back then, how was the Kathak scene back then. And I think that is my main inspiration behind today's chat. Like just to put everything on record and make it available to youngsters. It would be so fascinating for them to hear from a person who is almost 85 years old, to hear from him about his teacher from childhood who was 70 years old that time. It's such an amazing slab of history, if I may. So I'm just going to take you back to your days with Nirmala ji. Do you remember any toda tukdas that she learned, that she taught you, or anything from that Kathak class? Does anything still come back to you?
ta dikitaktun dagatakat, digitakata digitakatak, takatakata digita ta, te, tat, ta digitaktun dagatakat, digitakata digitakatak, takatakata digita ta, te, tat, something like that.
Amazing. This is so amazing. And do you by chance remember the ang that you used to dance with it? How
Yeah.
did you dance the toda?
Ta digitaktun dagatakat. Digitakata digitakatak.
Wow.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Digitaita, tatet digitaita, takatun digitakatun, nadigito digitaita, teita,
वाह क्या बात है वाह वाह.
So, yeah.
So Ranji, tell us a little about how Nirmala ji used to teach in class. Were there always musicians to accompany?
Always. Tabla, harmonium, and sometimes there was a student who played sarod,
Okay.
which I really liked. But she would take a rhythm and then add to it. I'll play another one. When she did Takiti Takiti Gina. So we did Takiti Takiti Gina, Takiti Takiti Gina, Takiti Takiti Gina, Takiti 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 Gina Gina, Takiti Takiti Gina, Takiti Takiti Digri, Takiti Takiti. So we always added little something to it. So when you danced that, it came naturally.
So nice. And you were saying something about Khadi Tatkar with the crossed foot at the back.
Yeah, the same thing. Nadidina, nadidina. Na 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 dini 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 dini.
Okay.
Oh, thing. Nadidina, 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 digri digri. Yeah. So always you learned the entire spectrum of what could come from a particular rhythm.
Got it. I just have to ask you this. So, wherever your job took you, you made an effort to connect with Kathak.
Always,
right?
yeah.
You kept dancing and
Yeah.
you kept learning from wherever possible. But you also developed into a very good critique because you're so eloquent. You have such a great knack at writing. So I personally remember 2 or 3 occasions on which you watched my performance and then wrote a beautiful critique on Facebook. And that is another facet of your personality that I want to bring in front. So how did that happen? I mean, I know that you're a very spontaneous person, but what do you look for in a performance? What are your norms of deciding good from not so good?
Well, I'm very interested and fascinating in Abhinaya. And if the story convinces me and I feel that it's real, which you are a master at, and then of course I'm very conscious of the technical part, which you are also amazing.
Oh, Ranji.
So what is there to write but the truth?
But in the past, did you write any critiques before? I mean, when you were younger, maybe in Europe or anywhere else?
Not really.
Let me say before social media. Did you write for newspapers or anything like
No,
that?
never.
I think you would have made such a profound critique. You do remember back in the days, even until I think I was 25-30 years old, there used to be these columns in the newspapers where experts wrote critiques of the festivals that just happened, or any performances that happened. And that was such a wonderful way of engaging the readers into the art, and that has just vanished. We don't have any art columns in any newspapers, and it's
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's really pathetic. There are very few newspapers which still carry. I don't think any of them carry a regular art column, but at least a handful which publish critiques, but it's mostly just reportage, not real critiques.
Yeah, when I told you when we performed in Khajuraho, they mentioned the group and the dance and things, but they didn't. It was obvious who was doing the write-up was not interested in the quality of the dance. They just said, this group came from Delhi and they dance very well, and we enjoyed their performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was more or less.
Oh, okay, okay. I have a question for you, Ranji, about the changing um, face of Kathak, or how Kathak was performed in the olden days. Because you have heard the Darbar stories from your Guruji, right? How it was performed in the Darbars. Then how you saw it being performed in the 60s or even the 70s. And then it slowly kept evolving. The performance art kept changing. And then social media came. Then we
Well,
have 30-second reels now, and I know that you are also on social media. You check out all those reels. You know what is going on in the
yeah.
world.
Well, for the longest time, Kathak was either a solo performance or a duet. Now, the stages are full of dancers,
That's true.
dancing in a very high standard.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that to see the way it has changed, especially in your darpan.
Mm.
I think the first darpan there were like 8 students dance.
Well, yeah, I mean, just a handful. That was our first student recital after I started teaching here in the Bay Area. And it was back in 2015. You were one of the 2 batches that I had. Or I think there were 3 batches altogether. So there was this senior group which performed in Ethnic Dance Festival with me. Then there was your batch, and there was a bunch of youngsters. Do you remember? Arya, Reva.
Yeah.
And so
but I
we
think
had 3.
Tejaswini also.
That was later in 2017 when I had injured my shoulder. That time we had invited Tejaswini to perform. But what you say is right. In 2015, at the time of first Darpan, there were just a bunch of students, and it was mainly my solo because I was trying to make it at least a couple of hours long. So, people feel that it's okay to have bought tickets. So, yeah, and you were a part of that group. Asavari Sargam.
Yes.
Ranji.
But now you had, what, 80 students?
Yes, more than 80 this time. Yes, in a span of 10 years.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And the standard was so high.
Thank you.
Was watching, from the wings, and it was like, wow.
You stole everybody's hearts with that one guest performance of yours, cameo. You were so lovely. You looked regal.
Thank
And
you.
that one look at the clouds, I always my heart used to melt every time I watched that when you rehearsed. It was so beautiful.
Looking at the mountain. Yeah.
It was Meha tarasat milan ko dharti, and you used to look up at the clouds for waiting for them to descend on the earth. Do you remember Prahlad Katha, Ranji, your solo? That was beautiful too. You were dressed as a kirtankar.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that very well. I was very honored to have that solo, yeah.
That went so well. Your expressions were so beautiful in that one. And I think you have such a tall figure. So especially when you were playing Hiranyakashipu, when you posed, in that with that vigor, you looked so beautiful. And I think the pagdi also looked very good on you.
Yes.
Do you remember I had got my father's pagdi from India for you? And I was
Yes.
so touched that you wore it because you both of you are born in the same year, 1942. And I had lost him just a few years ago, before the performance that we're talking about. So I was just so happy that you are wearing his pagdi. So, kind of a small portion of him is present here to watch the performance.
I felt that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one, Ranji? I think it was a Sargam again, right? You
Yeah.
performed with all international students at SISK. Samir was your partner that time.
Yes.
The red kurta.
Yes.
That was beautiful too. And I think Snigdha was your dance partner most of the time. So because I think in case you forgot, she was assigned the duty to tell you what was next.
Yes.
But we never got there. I think you were so spot on.
Yeah.
How did performing on stage, it must have energized you throughout, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. And my group, my batch, I've never bonded with a group of dancers like I bonded with them. And somewhere along the line, we were not just Guru Ben, but we became friends, family.
Yes.
I mean, every time I meet any of them, it's always such a pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel so much love from them.
Absolutely. I just love how Prajakta's son, Nishad, he calls you Ranji Azoba.
Yes.
It's so cute to hear that.
Yeah, what a lovely kid.
Yeah. So I think you just mentioned in the beginning that Kathak kind of was a window for you to have a peek at India, right?
Yes.
I mean, that was how you got introduced to Indian culture. But beyond that, I think Kathak is also the reason why you have this beautiful extended family in the Bay Area, in the US.
Yes.
And we are...
The rewards that I got from Kathak, more than anything I put into it.
But this question is not related to Kathak, but it's very much related to your personality. And you're very magnetic. You attract people. We all love to be in your company. In spite of this age gap of so many years, we never feel that you are older than us. You have always been so youthful, so so smart in general, that each one of us has always said that we want to grow old like Ranji. We want to be loved as Ranji. And I just want you to share the secret with us. Like, were you this person from the beginning, or you had to mold yourself to be like this when you started growing older and older?
I think it has to do with my philosophy influenced by Hinduism.
Okay.
And from the Gita, I think it's chapter 11, a man should not hate any living creature. He should be kind, compassionate to all.
Wow.
So that has been something that I realize was lacking in society, and something that I wanted to express in my everyday life.
That is so beautiful. And it's true. I mean, It's really unnecessary to hate anyone.
Sometimes when I've met people who are argumentative, aggressive, and so on, actually, one of my biggest philosophies have been जाने वाले जाने दो, रहने वाला रहने दो, आने वाले आने दो. So if somebody comes into my life and they're good and they contribute, I'm very happy to have a relationship with them. But as it happens in life, people move away, they get married and go off and so on like that. And slowly you lose contact with them. But on the other hand, I like to be open to new people coming into my life. So that's it.
How nice. Wonderful. A lot of times there is this generational conflict, you know, like you are respectful to the older generation, but you don't want them hanging around with you all the time. You know, it's that kind of a sentiment which we have never felt around you. Never, ever. We've always felt that Ranji could be even younger than us. You know, because of your spirit, because the way you crack jokes, you like to be funny, you like humor, you like food. There is so many things, and generally speaking, your zeal towards life, it's so I should say infectious, and that kind of inspires a person like me who is always surrounded by people. You know, like I'm surrounded by students all the time.
Yes.
And I want to be inspirational to them. I want to encourage them.
But you are.
I know I am, but a lot of times I think that it's harder to be the same way as you grow older and older. You know, sometimes we see old people are very kind of been there, done that. They don't have the same enthusiasm towards life, and they're generally done. And that kind of leaves everybody around them in a dull state of mind. This I have seen more often than not. But there is two people in my life who have proved to be an immense exception to what I just said. One is you. Can you guess who is the other person?
Manisha Thai?
Exactly. It's my own mother, who is 70, almost 72 now. And she is literally as young as a new leaf. It's so beautiful to be around her. You never feel dull. You never feel that she is dated. She's always relevant. And it's so inspiring to see the both of you.
Yes, I know. She's such a lovely person.
So I would literally like to keep both of you in front as my idols growing old. I want to grow old like you and like her.
You have my permission.
Thank you. Anything else that you would like to add, Ranji, before we conclude the chat?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything, didn't we?
I think so. We talked about your childhood, how you learned, how you started learning Kathak, and then how it traveled across the world with you to finally bring you to the Bay Area, bring me to the Bay Area, I think, because you were here before me. And then finally we met.
Yeah. I mean, I looked for a Kathak teacher, even here in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't find a teacher that inspired me like you did.
Thank you. It's an honor, Ranji. Thank you so much. In every sense, it's an honor to find a student like you. Thank you so much. I love you, Ranji.
I love you, Guruji.